origin story just a little bit?
Yeah. Young guy, 13, 14 years old, depending on which story you read, because there's 4 of them. There's 4 actual origin stories, but they're all similar, but they're different enough that it makes a difference.
So it's like the difference between, Mark, Matthew, and
Luke and John.
Yeah.
Yes. So Mormons don't recognize the difference, but anybody with 3 brains together, no. So basically the story goes that he was just this poor farm boy, needed to, him and his dad were, they used a seer stone to make money. So they made money. The Mormon story is that they farmed. They didn't farm. They went around upstate New York and they sold their services to other farmers who needed to find gold or treasures on their property. And they had this magic stone that they could put in a hat, stick their head in the hat, and it would help them find the treasure in their thing. But there are demons that can sometimes move the treasure on you. And so depending on how worthy you are, it's not the fault of Joseph Smith or his father if you paid them and they didn't find the treasure because you weren't righteous enough for the demons got there before you did. So they had an out either way. They ended up, pleading guilty in court of law. And that
Joseph Smith was a criminal?
Yeah, he two
really?
felony charges. He was convicted. And so the bottom line is he's this young boy he's got family that are, if you go to the LDS.org website, you can watch the story that they tell you. And it's interesting. It's all just spiritual and fun. And you go, oh, look at this cute little farm boy. He's working in the wheat. And all of a sudden he just can't, he's confused because his uncle's a preacher and his granddad's a preacher and his other uncle's a preacher. And they all preach different stuff. And how can we know which church to go to? And so he goes into the woods and prays and Jesus and God. Now, this is where the story gets interesting because depending on which version he told, sometimes there's 3 people there, sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 1, and sometimes there's none. It's just light. So bottom line is Joseph Smith did acid and sat it on a creek bank and saw stuff and wrote the story multiple times about how that worked. But he talked to God. God said, "This is my beloved son, hear him." And Jesus said, listen. Glad you came into the woods. We've been waiting forever because, we took away the gospel from the earth 2,000 years ago when they killed Jesus. We didn't want to save any of those people, the billions of people that came over the last 2 billion years, or 2,000 years, so 2 millennia. So we're going to restore the original gospel on the earth. You'll get a call later. So Joseph Smith goes home, and later this angel Moroni comes into his room and goes, "Hey, wake up, Joseph. Good news. I got some books. They're golden, and they were written by this awesome guy that was the first Indian on America. And it's an account.
An Indian?
Indian, yeah.
Yeah,
that's how they explain it with the Indians.
Oh.
When you have a late arriving religion in the 1830s, I mean, that's fairly late arriving. And you have, in the same year, you have Jehovah's Witnesses came to be. You have several religions came out in a 5-year period there in the 1830s.
Seventh-day Adventists.
Because it was you have several, yeah. It was crazy, and they all came out of New York. So all these religions came out. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's fighting for the other person's dollar. And so Joseph Smith says, okay, I'll wait till the angel comes back and tells me where these plates are. The angel comes back and says, listen, the plates are over here, but you can't have them. Here's what you got to do. You'll actually just stick your head in that hat that you already have and that stone you already have, and you'll be able to read them like vicariously, like from a distance.
Wasn't there a frog or something that happened in the meantime?
Salamander.
Oh, salamander. I'm sorry. An amphibian. How about that? That kicked his ass.
And from my understanding, the salamander story was a fake by a Mormon who was trying to get rich off the Mormons. He knew that he figured out that the Mormons were full of crap. So what he did is he called the prop of the church in the 60s or 70s, and said, "Hey, I have copies of some letters of Joseph Smith, and he didn't actually see personages in the woods. He didn't see in the grove of trees God. He talked to a white salamander." So he coined those letters salamander letters. Well, it turns out he wrote those letters. They were fakes. But the Mormon church actually paid him for them because they didn't want him out, because they were scared that it was the truth, because Joseph Smith could have done that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to slander Joseph Smith. Yeah. Now, how...
He's a man of God.
Yeah. Bullshit.
For the man.
Now, for our listeners that don't know anything about Mormonism, how did he translate them, and what did he translate these plates from? I mean, apparently he got them from somewhere, and they were something, and apparently he had to translate them somehow. So, yeah, that's some weird stuff.
He used that rock, and the same rock he already had, magic rock. You know, the Mormon church...
This isn't the same rock. This is not the same rock, though, right?
No, this is the same rock they released the other day.
Oh, is it? So it's not the and Thummim?
No. That's it's called the Urim and Thummim, and that's the old story. But the Mormon Church has caught some flack because they created that Urim and Thummim. That was a Mormon creation later, so that they didn't have to say a rock and a hat.
No,
but it turns out there is no Urim and Thummim. There's just a rock and hat. So what they did.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There actually is a Urim and Thummim, but it's in Jewish mythology.
There is. But what I'm saying is the Mormon Church took that because they didn't want to tell people, because Joseph wrote a rock and a hat. That's what his original writings are. But they didn't want to tell the Mormon Church that. Well, once that, because of the age of the internet, people had access to this stuff. And so they found out, he didn't have a Urim and Thummim. He had a rock and a hat. So the Mormon Church just released, we have a rock, and it's the rock he used to translate the golden plates.
Hey, I'll be honest. Whenever I saw those photos, actually pretty rock, I mean, it is a very beautiful rock.
I posted one on my Facebook page that looks even better than that one.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
Mine's not magic. I stuck it in my cowboy hat 3 or 4 times, and it still didn't work.
So you weren't able to find some magic golden plates in the hills?
No, and I couldn't find gold hidden in any hills or anything. But it's because the leprechaun thing.
That's all it is.
Yeah, the demon leprechauns steal the stuff before I can get there.
Are you interested in honest and open perspective and discussion? Do you enjoy hearing people challenge the status quo, even if it means examining the bumps and bruises of the free thought community? Do the reverberations of the echo chamber make everything you hear sound trite and jaded? Are you ready for a show that dares to hold all people up to the light, to examine our biases and blind spots? Are you a humanist? Then the Q might be for you. Come check out the secular safe space for critical thought, cross-examination, and a caring ear, where it's humanism first, secularism always, and where I really don't give a shit if you're an atheist or not. Come join the conversation by searching for The Q on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever aggregator you use, but be warned, I've taken the padding off the sharp corners.
So, Cash, what else do you got going on? I mean, you got a bunch of stuff. I know you're a busy guy. I mean, you want to pimp anything? I'm not trying to wind it up, but
I'm obviously, and I know but I have a business, and I that requires a lot of my time, and working for yourself is unique because you you work your butt off so that you can make almost what you'd make if you just went and worked for someone else. And so it's kind of it just makes you feel better, I guess, ego wise for me to be able to go, yeah, I got my own company, but there's no way to run a company by yourself. And so you have employees, you have people, and pretty soon you're working more and making less than I could go get a job probably at Holiday Inn and make what I make now. But you have commitments you've made to people, so you have to do it. And especially when you have employees, and I'm thankful. So I work and I love life. I try to read as much as possible. I try to learn as much as possible. I feel like I'm behind because I was 38 when I figured this stuff out, and I was angry. I'm still angry. I'm one of those butthole atheists. See, I even had to think
Good
how to
job. Good
replace
job.
a word with another word, and it wasn't coming to me. So
militant a-hole.
Yeah, I'm anti-theism, not anti-theist. Anti-theism. I hate religion. I hate what it does to good people. People that would be normally like you and I. People that would have hearts and people that would be kind. People that would love humanity. Instead of being on Fox News going, yes, we need to go to Iran next and North Korea because they're brown. And we all know Jesus doesn't like brown people. Look at him in the pictures. He's white. Which is probably amazing, to have a white guy in the Middle East back in 2,000 years ago. And to find people named Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John there would have been a trick. So I love it all. I do get angry with American, the Christian force here in America. And they've managed to call it as though they're being picked on. And so, yeah, I don't have anything to plug, though, other than your show and Atheist on Air. I haven't been on there. I've been in there once in the last 8 months, or 9 months. But I love Professor Stephen and Rachel and Rachel's retarded boyfriend. All of them. I like them. And I think they're doing a great job.
How about this? Since you were gracious enough to come on to my show and open up, how about I open up to you a little bit? Let me tell you a little story I had. Actually, Pastor Jay had a story, or he a prayer to say for my mother. Back in December, just before Christmas, my grandmother passed away. She was almost 100 years old, and she fell. She broke her hip, and at almost 100 years old, that's not a good thing. So 2 weeks after that, about 2 weeks before Christmas, she actually passed away. So I had to travel down to Florida, which is where my family is from. You kind of already know the story. But I had to travel down there, and I'm normally the rock that my family's emotional tides have to dash against. So we're down there and we're doing the whole Southern Baptist thing. And then we go to the wake, and I'm sitting there at the wake, holding my mom, holding my sister, not 4 feet away from my grandmother's body. Needless to say, I'm a little bit upset, kind of weird as it is, as you will. And then one of my family members decides that's the perfect time to talk about atheism. I had 3 choices. I could either lock my mind away, or comfort my mom and my sister, or not just break down in front of everyone. Now, guess which of the choices that I actually made. Now, to the listeners that will be listening to this later on, this drove me to the brink of madness, literally, like to the point of suicidal tendencies, wanting to kill myself. Now, that's, we always talk about as atheists, what's the harm? That's the harm, Yep. Sorry, I'm opening up a little bit to you, Cash, because you don't know me as well as I know you, but I know that I can open up to you. So, yeah, that guys, that's the harm. That's the harm that that religion can bring to someone. And it hurt me.